their national symbol isn't in their country. Mount Ararat, the mountain on Armenia's coat of arms, the one every Armenian grows up gazing at, sits across a closed border in Turkey. That contradiction alone tells you more about this place than any guidebook will. Somewhere near the end of this trip, you'll stand inside a city with a full skyline of towers and churches and no one in them. Not for 1,000 years. It reframes everything. But you have to earn it. Here's the full route. 2 week. It begins and ends near Yerevan. An old man sits at a small table on a side street, no menu in front of him, just a tiny cup of coffee so thick the spoon could almost stand up in it. He turns the cup over when it's empty, waits, and reads the grounds like they owe him an answer. Sit down beside him and you've already understood something about this city. It moves at its own pace, and it has had a very long time to learn it. You're in Yerevan, and it's older than Rome. Founded in 782 BC, back when it was called Erebuni, and it hasn't stopped living since. Nearly 2,800 years, and every year it throws itself a birthday party, as if daring you to name an older place still going strong. Start in the mornings, on foot. Republic Square is the heart of it. Those pink and cream buildings cut from volcanic tuff stone, glowing warmer as the day tips toward evening. Come back after dark and the fountains dance to music, and half the city seems to be out watching. Give one whole afternoon to the cascade, that vast limestone staircase climbing the hillside, sculptures tucked along every landing. Ride the escalators up inside if your legs protest, but climb at least part of it on foot, because the reward is at the top. The city spread below, and on a clear day, Mount Ararat floating on the horizon like something painted on. Order an Armenian coffee, strong, unfiltered, served in a cup the size of a thimble with something sweet on the side. Do it slowly. Nobody here rushes coffee. And when you're hungry, find your way to a spot serving khorovets, the smoky grilled meat that anchors every Armenian table. 2 full days is what this city asks of you. One for the squares and the cascade and the cafes, and one for Erebuni itself, up on its hill at the edge of town, where you can still walk the ancient fortifications where the whole story began. The old fortress and the dancing fountains held in the same city, a few kilometers apart. Stay until the light goes gold. That's when the tough stone catches fire. The whole city blushing pink and rose against the dusk, the mountain darkening behind it, and the smell of grilling meat drifting up from the courtyards below. Damp air on your skin the moment you step through the doorway, and then the sound. A single voice, or just water dripping somewhere in the dark, folding back on itself in that stone. You feel the mountain before you understand it. Half of this place isn't built at all. It's carved, straight into the cliff, chambers hollowed out of solid rock by hands working in the 4th century. Walk into the inner churches, the ones cut deep into the mountainside, and stand still for a moment. Let your eyes adjust. The carvings come out of the gloom slowly, reliefs worked into walls that were once just raw rock. If someone starts to sing, and sometimes they do, don't move. The echo here is the whole reason to come. And our inside is plenty. Time Time it for late afternoon, when the light goes gold on the cliffside and the main church glows against the stone. Step back out to the valley view, the river running below, the mountains closing in around you. The name means spear. Geghard, for the lance that pierced the side of Christ, kept here, they say, for centuries. You'll see locals lighting candles, murmuring prayers, tying cloth to the trees outside for a wish. This is a working, living place, not a ruin. On your way in or out, if it's cold, look for cash. Boiled cow's feet, slow and rich, the kind of thing shared slowly across a table with people who love you. Then back into the dark of the rock, where the water keeps dripping and your own footsteps come back to you softened, unhurried, small. 1,700 years. That's how long this ground has been protected. A king set it aside for the wildlife back in the 4th century, which means you're walking through conservation that predates the very idea of conservation. 23,000 hectares of it, spread across ridges and river gorges, and some of the junipers rooted here have stood for over 1,000 years. Gnarled, silvered, patient trunks that were already old when half of Europe's cathedrals were quarried. You'll want the better part of a day for this, and you'll want to start it early. Go at first light, when the mist pools in the valleys and softens everything to gray and gold. Take a guide. The reserve isn't a place you wander blindly. And walk the trails toward the ancient junipers, where the earth smells of damp moss and slow decay, that rich forest breath you feel in your chest before you name it. Move quietly, and the forest rewards you. Biswar goats on the rocky outcrops. Vultures wheeling over the gorge. In spring, the slopes flush with wildflowers, whole meadows of them against the pale stone. The villagers here still leave small offerings at the base of the oldest trees, certain the forest keeps its own spirits. Stand still for a moment on the trail. The air cool, the light filtering down through 1,000 years of branches, and nothing louder than water somewhere below. It's the face of a nation that doesn't sit inside its borders. The mountain you're looking at, the one on the coat of arms, the one in every painting, the one Armenians have carried in their chest for 1,000 years, stands across a closed frontier, in Turkey. You cannot walk up to it. You cannot touch it. And still, it belongs to this country more completely than anything you can reach. You'll see it from the plains south of Yerevan, and the way to do this properly is to go early. Rise before the light, drive out toward the border where the land flattens and the fields open, and wait. The peak is often wrapped in haze by midday, so the first hour after dawn is when it shows itself. 5,137 meters of snow, catching the sun while the valley is still gray and cold beneath it. That single hour is the whole point. You don't need more, and you shouldn't rush it. The monastery of Ararat gives you the closest, cleanest view. A small brick chapel on a low hill with the mountain filling the sky behind it. So near it feels staged, though nothing here is staged. Climb the hill slowly. Stand at the wall. In spring, the ground at your feet is thick with wildflowers, and the air carries that thin alpine sharpness mixed with something earthier, greener, rising off the fields. This is the mountain where the Ark is said to have come to rest after the flood, where the world, in one telling, began again. You feel the weight of that even if you carry no belief at all. It's in the silence people keep when they look at it, the way conversation drops off. Watch the snowline turn from rose to white to blinding as the morning climbs. And when the haze finally lifts the summit back out of reach, you'll understand why a people would build their whole identity around something they were never allowed to hold. What does a landlocked country do when it has no coast to brag about? It builds one out of a lake and calls it a sea. And here it is, spread out in front of you, nearly 2,000 meters up, one of the largest high-altitude lakes anywhere on Earth, so wide you lose the far shore in the haze. Armenians say it with a straight face and a little grin. This is our sea. And honestly, once you've stood on the sand with the water going that impossible turquoise, you stop arguing. Start with the climb, and it is a climb. A stone staircase up a peninsula to a pair of 9th century churches that seem to have been placed there purely to make you earn the view. Give it a morning. From the top, the whole thing opens up. The deep blue, the ring of bare mountains, little wooden fishing boats drawing lines across the surface. Go early before the tour coaches, and you'll have the wind and the stone to yourself. Then come back down for the part that actually matters, which is lunch. The dish here is ishkan, the local trout, found in this lake and almost nowhere else on the planet, an oddity of a fish for an oddity of a sea. You'll find shoreline places grilling it whole over coals, the skin gone crisp and salty, the smoke drifting straight out over the water. Order it with a cold beer and no plans for the next hour. This is the point of the day. Everything else is scenery around the trout. And if it's summer, lean into the absurdity of the whole enterprise. The shore fills with Armenian families doing exactly what you'd do at any beach. Kids shrieking in water that is genuinely, teeth-achingly cold because it's still snow-melt at altitude. Dads hunched over portable grills, radios going, towels everywhere. There's something wonderfully ridiculous about a beach holiday 6,000 feet in the sky, and everyone here is completely committed to the bit. Around the Feast of the Transfiguration, you'll catch crowds gathering to bless the water, and then, of course, eat more fish. An afternoon and a lazy lunch is plenty, though nobody will stop you from staying till the light goes low and the surface turns to hammered copper. Stand there as the last swimmers pack up, the grill's cooling, the cold coming down off the peaks fast now. That thin, clean high-altitude air, and the smell of wood smoke and trout hanging over a sea that isn't a sea at all. A monastery on the water brings blessings, the old-timers say here, and they've been climbing this hill to collect them for well over 1,000 years. You'll do the climbing too. The stairs run up the spine of the peninsula, and it's not far. 20 minutes, maybe, if you stop to catch your breath and take in the view, which you will. At the top, 2 small churches from the 9th century, dark stone worn smooth by the wind coming off the water. This was an island once. The lake sat higher, and the only way across was by boat. The water dropped, the land rose to meet it, and now you walk where monks used to row. Go slow around the Khachkars, the cross stones. Look close at the carving. Some of the finest work in the country is right here, weathered but still sharp under your fingers if you trace the lines. Half an hour at the top is enough, unless you want to just sit, which is the better idea. Time it for late in the day. When the sun drops toward the far shore, the light turns the stone gold and lays a long path across the water, and the whole hill goes quiet. If you're hungry after, the fish from the lake is the thing to order. The local trout, cooked simply, down by the shore. Up here, though, it's the pine you'll remember. The trees crowd right up to the walls, and the air off the lake is cold and clean, and there's the smell of resin and stone and old candle smoke drifting out through the open church door. "6,100 years. That's how far back the winemaking goes here. A number so old it barely fits in your head. When the first pyramids were still just an idea in someone's mind, people were already crushing grapes in a cave in this valley, letting the juice ferment in clay, drinking to their harvest. Archaeologists found the press, the fermentation vats, the drinking cups, all of it sealed in the cool dark of the Areni 1 cave. They found the world's oldest leather shoe in there too, tucked beside the wine. So when you raise a glass in this region, you're not starting a tradition. You're joining one that's older than almost anything humans have written down. You'll feel the shift in the land before you understand it. The road bends and suddenly the hills open into rows of vines, low and gnarled, running across slopes the color of rust and ash. That's the volcanic soil doing its quiet work. The reason the wine here tastes the way it does. The vines grow high close to a mile up, where the days are hot and the nights turn cold. And that swing is exactly what the grapes want. The Areni grape itself is native to this ground. It doesn't grow like this anywhere else on Earth, and you can taste the difference. Something bright and a little wild, with a mineral edge underneath. The Areni 1 complex sits above the Arpa River, and standing at its mouth you get the whole story at once. The same river, the same slopes, the same instinct to make wine from what grows here. It's a short visit, half an hour maybe, but do it before the tastings. It changes how the wine sits on your tongue afterward, knowing what came before. Then let the afternoon slow right down, because this is a region built for lingering. The family cellars are scattered through the villages, and the best ones aren't polished tasting rooms. They're someone's home, someone's grandfather's method. Knock, or better, arrange it ahead, and you'll be poured wine that's been made the same way for generations, sometimes still aged in buried clay vessels the way it was millennia ago. Red rock, the color of embers, rising on both sides as the road narrows into a gorge. The cliffs press in, and then the monastery appears. Small against all that stone, honey gold walls under a wall of burning rust. This is Noravank, tucked into the folds of a canyon in the south, and it's been here since the 1100s. Straight to the main church, Tsaghkadzor, and look up. There's a narrow stone staircase climbing the outer face, barely wider than your shoulders, leading to a second level. You almost never see that in Armenian churches. It's meant to carry you upward, toward heaven. The steps are steep and the edge is open, so take your time. But the view from the top back down the gorge is the whole reason you made the drive. Give the carvings a slow look before you go. The Khachkars, the crotch stones, are cut so fine they look like lace pressed into rock, and the reliefs above the doorways are some of the most detailed in the country. An hour here is plenty. There's one church, one chapel, and the cliffs, and that's the gift of it. You come, you climb, you stand, time it for late afternoon. As the sun drops, the whole canyon catches fire. The red walls glow warmer and deeper until the stone almost hums. It looks like the fastest way to reach one of the oldest, most silent places in the country. But it's a 5.5-kilometer glass cabin swinging over a gorge, the world's longest non-stop reversible cable car. And it's how you get here. So the monastery built for solitude begins with a ride that pins your stomach to the window. Give the crossing its full 12 minutes. Watch the Vorotin River shrink to a thread below your feet. You land at a place founded in the 9th century, once the beating heart of Armenian learning. A university where scribes copied manuscripts and argued theology in these very courtyards. Walk the stones slowly. Run your hand along the carvings on the main church. Find the swinging pillar the monks built to sense earth tremors. An hour inside the walls is enough. But linger for the light. Come at the end of the day, when the sun goes low and the stone turns amber, and the crowds thin to almost nothing. That's when you understand why they chose this cliff. The earthy smell of old stone, the cold mountain air moving through the arches, and quiet. Real quiet. Cool stone under your palm, older than almost anything you've touched, and above it the thin mountain air. That's the first thing that reaches you here, before the walls even come into focus. This is a place that stood on this ridge above the Geghard Gorge since the 10th century, and for a long stretch of that history, the world simply forgot it was here. Only in the 1990s did the careful work of restoration begin. Come early. The morning light is soft on the stone then, and the courtyard is quiet in a way it won't be later. An hour is enough to walk it slowly. You don't need to rush this one. Move along the church facades and look closely at the carvings. Monks worked here as scholars, copying manuscripts that kept the Armenian language alive through centuries when that was far from certain. Step out to the edge and let the gorge open up below you. That view, the depth of it, the far walls of the valley. Stand there a moment before you go back in. Inside, you may find candles burning. Locals still climb up here to light them and pray for people they love. They hold this as a place of healing, and you'll feel that if you keep still and let them have their moment. If your timing is kind, the harvest season brings a village feast nearby. Lavash pulled hot from the tandoor, the old custom still living. And when you leave, it stays with you. That earthy smell of aged stone, the mountain wind moving through an empty doorway, the hush of a place that refused to disappear. A monk bent over a page here 1,000 years ago, grinding pigment, teaching a younger man how to paint the curve of a letter. Medicine in one hall, manuscripts in the next. That was the university tucked inside these walls, and you can still feel the weight of all that learning in the stone. The name itself tells you something. Sanahin means older than that one. A little sibling rivalry, frozen forever, aimed at the monastery just up the road. 10 centuries on, the boast still holds. You don't need long here. An hour, maybe a touch more, and you'll have walked the main church with its dark dome, ducked through the low passages between buildings and lingered where you should linger, at the Khosrov. Those are the cross stones, and every one of them is carved differently, each believed to guard a soul. Run your eyes over the detail. Some of it is finer than lace. Locals still come with bread and wine for their ancestors, still gather here for the old feasts, so treat it as the living place it is, not a ruin behind glass. Come early if you can. The morning light slides through the trees and lands soft on the walls, and the crowds haven't arrived yet, so you get the courtyards mostly to yourself. Stand in the middle of it for a moment before you move on. What stays with you afterward isn't a single carving or dome. It's the smell. Cool, damp stone that's been standing since before your language was written, threaded through with pine drifting up from the canyon below. Breathe that in once, slowly before you go. Where do Soviet cosmonauts go to prepare for the emptiness of space? Somewhere with thin mountain air and pine trees, apparently. Because they came right here to this valley to train at altitude before strapping into a rocket. That's the delightfully strange fact you carry up the ski lift, the longest one in Armenia, swaying over slopes that were serious enough for men bound for orbit. The name means Valley of Flowers, which feels like a joke when you're watching snow settle on your gloves. Give the morning to the slopes. Early, when the mist lifts and the peaks catch the sun. Then swap the adrenaline for something older. A short walk down brings you to Khosrov, an 11th century monastery where monks once grew medicinal herbs, its gray stone crosses standing quietly in view of the modern lifts above them. And afternoon here is plenty. Ride, wander the monastery, warm up over a plate of tolma, and then just stand still for a moment. The cold biting your cheeks, the pines sharp and resinous in the crisp mountain air. And then you reach Areni. You walk through a gate into what was once one of the great cities of the medieval world. Cathedrals still reaching, walls still standing, the whole ghost of a skyline intact. And there is no one. Not a tour group, not a vendor. Not a sound beyond the wind coming off the Turkish border 100 meters away. 1,000 years of silence, and you're standing inside it. That moment reframes every monastery you sat in on the way here. They survived. Bonnie didn't. And somehow that changes what surviving means. This trip does that to you. It gets quieter the longer you're in it. If that sounds like your kind of travel, there's more where this came from.